Welcome to Soul Diva Confessions Part 13. Today I will be talking about sex, drugs, and religion, even though in actuality the only drugs we will be referring to on this episode are me. My name is Mayush. I am the Lebanese Soul Diva. They call me LSD. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel now and also follow me on Instagram at mayush.lsd. You can also find me on TikTok and Threads at mayush.lsd. Make sure to follow me to keep up with me, and let's get into it. I've tried recording this a couple of times. It's been challenging to actually get through because I find myself returning to actually a pretty dark space and in real time revealing areas of my past that aren't fully healed and that still feel really dark. But that's why I'm making this episode, to shine a light on that and inshallah shine a light on any woman or like teen or 20 something or even 30 something woman that is going through what I went through. So basically I want to talk about sex and like the modern world and how women are kind of baited into having sex and losing their virginities at a really young age, and how ultimately I came to religion at around when I turned 26, which finally delivered me from like the demonic holds that hookup culture and just sex in our culture had on me. There was a really demonic hold on me throughout my 20s and my teens. So basically, for some context, I grew up on the south side of Chicago to Lebanese immigrants. My parents fled from Lebanon in the late 80s during the Civil War. And the Civil War was caused by religious sectarianism. My parents joined together in somewhat of a forbidden union. My dad is an Orthodox Christian, Messihiye, and then my mom is a Shia Muslim, and they knew each other from like like AUB medical school. My mom was a nurse, my dad was a doctor. Classic love story. And so they met and they became friends at AUB, and then they both immigrated to the United States separately, and then ultimately like came together and started dating and got married. But by the time they got to the States, while my dad was very much embodied in his Christianity, he was embodied as a Christian man, but never really imparted wisdom from the Bible or the religion onto us. We would go to like church and stuff pretty much only on Greek Orthodox Easter. And then my mom, her family were very devout Muslims, prayed 5 times a day, her parents, up until the day that they died. But she was so off-put by how religion tore Lebanon apart and created a civil war that she just kind of abandoned religion altogether and kind of made like American immigration and like the American dream kind of became her religion. So she's like a really hardworking, accomplished nurse and just kind of did things by the American like immigrant way and didn't impart too much wisdom regarding the Muslim religion. So essentially I grew up agnostic without any religion whatsoever, and then was kind of just sent into the wild without any real understanding of my worth as a woman and who I am and who God says that I am, and what God says about like sex and women and how we're supposed to conduct ourselves in society and how valuable we are and like the value of our bodies and why we need to protect our bodies and our virtue and our purity at all costs. So truly no knowledge of that. I remember like as soon as I was in middle school, there started being pressure to like kiss guys and like make out with guys and like whatever, like do stuff. And I remember always feeling really like overwhelmed and like left out while like my friends were like going into closets and like making out with like random like boys that were just our friends, you know? And I was just like, ew, like you guys are so gross. Like I would literally never, you know, like I wasn't asexual, but I was just like deeply, deeply uninterested in all of the boys at my school. Like I found like the whole concept of like hooking up just to be like repugnant, honestly. I was just like, couldn't be me. And yeah, so then like I started high school and I guess like turned 13, and then all of my friends basically just started being like, okay, like you're 13, time to pop that pussy, like time to lose your virginity ASAP. Like I was just really being told to hook up with any guy that I like could get my hands on basically, and just like lay down with him, like have sex. And something about that just never really sit right with me. I had developed like severe anxious attachment and abandonment issues, like I'm pretty sure like before I even turned 3. So it was like I was in a weird, like really cruel, tormenting situation. I had an anxious attachment like with my mom that really manifested with my relationship with my mom, like always like trying to seek approval and get her approval and love, and like trying really hard, like auditioning for love, like with my mom, essentially feeling like a little bit rejected, low-key. Sorry mom, like if you're watching this. She watches some of my Soul Diva Confessions episodes, but I don't think she's gonna keep watching them because she's like, Hayete, you have a long way to go into your videos before anybody will pay to listen to you talk. So I don't think she's really watching my videos, but I developed anxious attachment from a really young age, and then it manifested in relationships with boys that I would really, really like. And then they just like wouldn't really like me back because I was like, I had a really like anxious attached, like desperate, like needed external approval type of energy. Very demonic, very painful. And God just like did not deliver me from this for like a long ass time. So that was rough. But I think like now looking back on it, he used my anxious attachment as a protective mechanism. Even though it was like really painful, it did ultimately protect me from entering a boyfriend and girlfriend situation or a hookup situation where I would give like my virginity or my virtue to a man that I wasn't married to, or at least it protected me for a really long time. But so yeah, I was in like this really, really painful situation where I was being told that in order to have value, I needed to lay down with a man and start collecting bodies and start collecting sexual experience. And then on the other end, every man that I would try to have sexual experience with, because I felt comfortable, like the men that I felt comfortable to lay down with couldn't offer me like a committed situation, which in my mind was like a boyfriend or a girlfriend or whatever, like a boyfriend-girlfriend situation, which like in retrospect is like not secure. Like I don't even recognize that as a title. And I haven't recognized it as a title for like years now. As soon as I realized that boyfriend-girlfriend is kind of just like a scam, it's like not a real relationship. It's basically like hookup culture, but it's like a fake title, I guess, that women have been like baited into giving their all to a man that isn't actually committed to them or providing for them in any real way. Test drive a woman before he has made the ultimate commitment to her. So this, unfortunately, like this consciousness and this painful cycle of like being told that I needed to sleep with men to have value, but then being rejected by the men that I wanted, was like such a painful and demonic cycle that went on from my teens to my like mid-20s. And like, again, like I said, alhamdulillah, God was using the rejection to protect me from giving my virtue to the world and giving my virtue to men in the world. But unfortunately, at the same time, it did such a number on my self-esteem and my self-worth, because I felt that I couldn't even obtain value because the men that I wanted and the men that my body would open to were not treating me right. And so I just felt really, really worthless in the world. And even like my closest friends perpetuated this message that I was worthless because I didn't have any bodies. Like, imagine that. Imagine as a woman being told that since you don't have a body, like you have 0 body count, like you're less worthy than the women that have like 20 body counts. Which I just find so ironic nowadays, because you realize that like when you enter the world, and it's so I would attract these highly alpha men. All of the men that have ever been drawn to me and that I've ever been drawn to have been highly alpha and highly traditional. And now, like in retrospect, I realized that my friends who were like telling me to lay down with men were laying down with men that were like very beta and kind of feminine. Whereas like I was always attracted to and always attracted very alpha, traditional, masculine, like strong men. We were always drawn to one another. But I was trying to apply the broken consciousness of my girlfriends in relationships with highly masculine alpha protector men. So basically these men would like court me, and then I would attempt to make myself sexually available very early on in these relationships with these alpha men. And then they would reject me because highly alpha men don't want to take a woman's virtue outside of a covenant or outside of like a true commitment. So I was encountering these men that were actually very, very godly men. And they always were highly protective of me. So they never like tried anything. Like they would be like really good friends to me, and they would be there for me. But they wouldn't like give me what I wanted, which was like, I wanted to like have sexual experiences with them, because I was like being overwhelmingly inundated with messaging that I needed to do that to have worth. So I'm so grateful to like all of the men that I've ever loved, basically, because with the one exception, every man I've ever loved or like kissed was like a protector and like was very protective over me. So that was a blessing. It was very, very painful. It really like messed with my self-worth while it was happening, but in retrospect it was really God protecting me and protecting my body and protecting my purity. Wow, yeah, this is really, really difficult to talk about. So basically, I was protected, but I didn't feel protected. I felt rejected. So I kept like going down these paths, and ultimately I kept settling for less and less, because I thought that I was getting rejected because my standards were too high and I wanted like love in a relationship. But in reality, like I had actually lowered my standards. Even though my standards were higher than the people around me, it was like my consciousness was so broken and my self-esteem was so beaten down by the messaging of the world that I was really showing up as like this broken, wounded creature and like woman that men, they just couldn't, like they just, it was not like, it didn't make for a romantic situation. It made for like these just very toxic, painful, like karmic situations. So my path just kept getting darker and darker. And, you know, of course, like in the media, women are just becoming even more like over sexualized and like degraded in the media, and like willingly degrading themselves, which again is what I was asked to do, was to willingly lay down with men that were like unvetted in order to have value. So fast forward to like the deepest, darkest rock bottom of my life in like 2021, which was just like the culmination of years and years of compounded broken consciousness, rejection, feeling worthless in the world, in the eyes of the world, because I didn't have that sexual experience. And it wasn't until I feel that like I lost my virtue, I surrendered my virtue to a predator, and like in the most painful experience of my entire life, that I was saved. God allowed me to reach the most painful rock bottom of my life before he saved me and like led me ultimately to like the Bible, where I finally learned like the value of a woman is precious. Like her price is far above rubies. Who can find a virtuous woman? Because virtuous women are so rare. As we can see, like there were no virtuous women in my life growing up that taught me. I mean, my mom was a virtuous woman, but she didn't know how to articulate it, or she didn't want to talk to me about those subjects, because, you know, it's like generational trauma just is real. And like, not like mothers, you know, that fled from war, like how could they have the bandwidth to even talk about sex with their daughters, because they were literally just in survival mode, like fleeing from like war. So that was my experience. Like I just didn't have God, I didn't have any guidance. So I was really led to religion in 2021, where I was like finally saved and took a vow of purity, because I was always saving myself. Like when I told my friends like, no, I want to save myself, I just never really knew what I was saving myself for. And it seemed really, really extreme to me to say like I'm saving myself for marriage. Like that didn't even seem like an option for me, because it just seemed like so old fogey and like lame and like just not cool. Like that just like wasn't cool. Like where I grew up, no one was doing that. That was just like, that was so unheard of. Like my inner child, like baby Mayush, was trying to be like, no, like we're saving ourselves. But like my consciousness just did not have the information to understand or appreciate like what saving yourself really was, or like that it was actually really cool and like really the wise thing, and honestly the hottest fucking thing, like the baddest fucking thing that you could do as a woman. And yeah, this episode is like so heavy for me, because yeah, it just takes me to like a really dark consciousness that I was in for like my entire life basically, and have like only really been delivered from for like the last 3 years or something. And like I'm still being delivered from it. So fast forward, like I came to religion, started understanding like God and like the Christian meaning of like a woman, and her price is like how valuable a woman's virtue is, and like how just understanding like predatorship and how important it is for a woman's soul and her spirit to protect her virtue and to save herself. And like in Islam, just thinking about how women in Islam, like, and in the Arab world in general, like, women are so protected. And like in Islam, like, you have the physical manifestation of the woman's protection. Like, women in Islam are so protected that they're actually covered, they're veiled and they're covered because, not because they're oppressed. I had this viral video once on TikTok where I was like wearing a headscarf, talking about, just trying to explain to people that the hijab is not a form of oppression for Arab women, but it's actually a form of freedom to cover yourself up from the eyes of the world and like the male gaze and like the gaze of the world, and how virtue and like protection, like no sex, and not even in Islam, like not even like, you can't even see my hair, you don't even, only like a woman is so protected because it's a form of freedom to be that level of protected, and to keep parts of yourself only to yourself and only for your family. And that's exactly how I feel about sex and a woman's virtue, is that that is strictly reserved for your family, meaning your husband, your future husband, and that like yourself and like your sexuality and the way that you experience your sexuality as a woman is a beautiful thing, and you should absolutely explore sexuality in your singleness and like enjoy your sexuality for yourself though, and like bask in your powerful sexual feminine energy, and like harness that and use that to create the life that you want, and like the delicious polarity that you want, and harness that sexual energy to create your dream relationship. And like, because if you give that sexual energy to a man like that is not committed to you, like the world tells you to, you're wasting your sexual energy. You're like giving it away as opposed to saving it and like letting it just like build and build and build for yourself and for your own life and for your own experience of sexuality, and for like your future husband, and for like the man of your dreams, for like your king, you know? God has like put it on my heart to read romance novels this year. I work at this job where I just have like so much downtime at my job. So I've been like reading romance novels on the iPad, and I just read this book called Bride, which is like a vampire, like it's a vampire werewolf, like star-crossed lover love story, but like the male protagonist is like so fucking sexy, and just like he's so like mysterious and like unobtainable, but he's very, very he's controlled, like he has immense self-control, and he'll never let the woman know that so basically the story is they had to get an arranged marriage to have like an alliance between the wares and the vampires. So basically like they get married, and he's like obsessed with her, but he like won't let her ever see it. And he's just like has like intense self-control. He's he's like the alpha were that she gets married to, and she's like, of course, a virgin when they get married. And like the whole book is just like him making, like, she thinks that he doesn't like her at all, but then like whole time he's like obsessed with her. And then like ultimately they get together, and they have these like intense erotic experiences, that are ultimately just like deeply romantic. Like, my whole thing also about verse 2 is that it's like, okay, yeah, like you have a boyfriend or like you have like a hookup and like you're just like having sex and you're in the world and you're test driving each other. Cause like I have friends to this day, like when I tell them now that I'm like saved and I'm much more confident about being like, I'm saving myself for marriage, people are like, oh my God, like, what if the dick is whack? Like, what if the dick is whack? Like, how are you gonna know? Like, you need to test drive it before you, like, get married. Like, that's insane. Like, you're insane. And everyone always loves to cite that episode of Sex, that, like, whole, it wasn't an episode. It was, like, a fucking season or two montage of Charlotte saving herself. Like, yeah, she's in a pure relationship with Trey McDougal. And then, like, the night before her wedding, she, like, decides to, like, break their vow of celibacy and, like, sleep with him. And he, like, can't get it up. And, like, God, like, I'll be the first girl to say I fucking love Sex in the City. But I can also love it while simultaneously recognizing that it's literally the most demonic show on the face of the planet. Because it's literally just baiting women into, like, having a million sexual partners throughout their life. And I honestly feel like Carrie is like a sex slave, basically. So people love to cite that example whenever I tell them I'm like saving myself till marriage and I don't intend to have sex until my wedding night. And the thing is, like, with the romance novels, like romance novels versus Sex and the City, like every romance novel that I've been reading lately, like, starts with marriage, basically. Like, there's like some situation and then they have to get married, and then they're just like in this situation where they're like married, and it's like kind of awkward at first because they're just like had to be married because of outside circumstances, and then they end up like in the covenant of marriage, like taking this slow approach, getting to know each other and pursuing romance in this way that is like protected. And the man, he's responsible, his name is with that woman. He's literally responsible for that woman's safety, and his reputation and his like manhood relies on his ability to protect what is his. And when I say his, I mean his wife, the woman that has his name. There's a sense of accountability that naturally forces the man to rise into his like king stature and like take care and protect that woman spiritually and physically, because not only it's like he has a responsibility to her, but he has a responsibility to his own name and his lineage to protect that woman. And y'all, like, there's just something very romantic about that. Like, when a man is invested in a woman to that degree, because his whole life, everything he's built up to that point has like culminated into him taking a wife, because a man can't even get a wife unless he's built something of himself, you know, like a bum can't get a wife. Like, only a man in good standing in this world is able to actually like afford a wife. And when I say afford, I mean not just financially, I mean like can even attract a wife, because he is a man of like stature and a good reputation and known in the gates of heaven amongst the elders. Like he's got it going on, basically. Like, he has a reputation. So his reputation depends, and his family name is reliant on protecting this woman. Like, he's gonna protect that woman, and he's going to go deep into himself to be the man that that woman needs, because it's just a beautiful thing, y'all. And like reading, God has just had me like all up in these romance novels to raise my standards and just like remind me that this is real, you know? Like, this is what romance novels are about. Like, pursuing purity. It's not because like God is like mean and wants to ruin your fun. It's because he wants you to have this beautiful romantic fucking fairy tale romance novel life. Like, that's what every single woman deserves. Every woman deserves to be like obsessed about and like protected at all costs. And that's why I just like love religion so much, because I'm just kind of like a religious fanatic. Like, I'm not even, I wouldn't even call myself religious really, because I'm kind of like straddled between Islam and Christianity. Like, I just love both religions so much. But Christianity is just so much more accessible in our society. So I'm like trying to actively like create community, Muslim community, so I can like find some sisters in Islam, so I can like get closer to the religion. And honestly, like, I've always prayed for a Muslim husband. Like, when I decided I wanted to get married, like, part on my love list was like, I want a Muslim husband, because I just want like more access to the religion, because Christianity is just so it's just so easy to access. Like, it's very, very prevalent in American society, whereas like Islam, like, it's really difficult to, for me, in my experience at least, like where I grew up, it was all like Jews and Christians. So yeah, I hope this episode was valuable. I feel like I'm sort of having a stroke a little bit right now. Like, I kind of blacked out during this episode. I just want you guys to have romance and love and like all of the romantic experiences. And like, if there's a part of you that feels like having a boyfriend or like having sex at a young age because everyone else is doing it, like, feels wrong, it's for a reason. It's because God has better for you. It's because God like literally wants you to focus like your younger years on like self-improvement and self-development, and like honestly like scripture, and like growing your relationship in God. And like, the sooner you do this, the sooner you grow in your relationship in God, or like just like pursue like yourself and your own interests without even focusing on men, the sooner you'll be able, and having a standard of like, I literally want a romance novel for my life and a fairy tale for my life, and I'm not going to settle for anything less. I'm not going to do the boyfriend girlfriend thing, because I recognize that it's just not as romantic, and like, I want romance. You're going to be able to attract a highly conscious masculine man a lot quicker if like, because women set the standard. So it's like, all these women want this like high value masculine man, but high value masculine men that like we read about in romance novels, like, they want a woman with the that has the consciousness and like to protect herself first and foremost, you know? Like, the whole fetishization of purity, I have to say, like, it's not really a fetish. There's actually something to it. And it's not just like, oh, a woman must be pure, because I don't believe that a woman needs to be a virgin to be pure. It's about like having a pure consciousness and like protecting yourself, even if you've made mistakes in the past. Just like coming to yourself and having the realization that you're worthy of true romance, and you're worthy of like having a man go the fucking distance to be able to have you, because that's how worthy you are. That's what the purity fetishization is actually about. It's not like about slut shaming. It's about just wishing we can find a woman that whose consciousness hasn't been corrupted by this sex crazed fucking depraved ass world. You know what I mean? It's crazy, y'all. Like, I make music and I've kind of reached a point where my music career where like I've been trying to have a music career and like pursue music in my own strength maybe for like 10 years now, and it's honestly been the most deeply tormenting experience because music to me has always felt more like duty and purpose and calling rather than like fun and like hobby and like joy. I feel like God put this like purpose on my life to bring like God back to the music industry, back into music, but through like worldly music, but like godly music, you know what I mean? And last week I just was like, okay, God, like, okay, Allah, like, take my music career. Like, if you want me to be a star, like, here, like, I'm giving you my music career. Like, I'm just gonna pray for ease and joy. And like, I'm okay with not being in the spotlight for the foreseeable future. Like, I'm okay that like you're sabotaging all my attempts to record cover videos. I'm okay with like not having the funds to do like the like music that I want right now. All I'm praying for, I'm not praying for success, I'm not praying for stardom. All I'm praying for is joy in the process and like flow in the process. And so I like surrendered my music career to God last Monday. And then on Sunday, God brought Sunday service to me, to my place of work. Sunday service is like the Sunday service collective that Kanye put together a couple years back. But he kind of like abandoned it because obviously God like is no longer, like Kanye is no longer like reaching for God. Pray for him because, oh my God, he brought his alleged wife fully naked onto the red carpet yesterday at the Grammys, and it just really breaks my heart that he's like abandoned his relationship with Jesus because he made a really beautiful album. He put a really beautiful choir and collective together. But just like the irony, like God, I gave God my music career and then he brought Sunday service to me. And I got to meet all of these beautiful people who love God. You know, they love music, but they love God even more. So that was such a blessing. And like also further confirmation that like we need God in music so badly, because even Kanye, who like created Sunday service, is like still being attacked, like is still under demonic attack and like needs to be saved. And like for all my girls that are just like seeing that and think like, oh, Kanye whatever is making Jesus music, but then he's like still on the red carpet with a naked woman, like it must be okay. Like, so I'm kind of losing track of where I'm at, so I'm gonna stop recording. But I love you guys, and I just want to say that you are extremely, extremely valuable. Your worth, your virtue, your worth isn't in your body, okay? Like nothing of your worth is in your body. Your worth is in your soul and your heart and your spirit as a woman. And your body is a portal to your spirit, which is why you have to protect and purify your body. And just protect your body and purify it at all costs. Purify, keep yourself pure and purify yourself, because you're going to attract the man of your dreams that way, and he's going to recognize you, and he's going to, your spirit like will be unblemished. Like the longer you protect yourself and like seek the things of God and pursue your passions and pursue yourself as a woman and just believe in God and believe in, you know, a higher power, and believe in yourself to attract, and that you deserve romance and the man of your dreams and a fairy tale and the ultimate like romantic love story, like you will attract it. It will happen. But, you know, pursuing purity and like recognizing that hookup culture is a lie, and recognizing that you don't have to lose your virginity or lay down with a man, and that you shouldn't lay down with any man that's not your husband, that's gonna save you so much heartache and so much headache. And it's gonna lead you to a man that will provide for you and protect for you and love you all of the days of your life so much sooner. And you're just gonna be so much happier for it. And I'm just, yeah, I love you. And like, protect yourself and protect your body and protect your vessel and protect your mind and protect your soul. And you don't have to lay down with anybody to be valuable or to be cool. And I'm telling you, like, people are starting to wake up, and people, like women, are starting to see the error of their ways. And you will have women that have laid down with many men that will claim that it's cool because their consciousness is broken and they're broken inside, and they want to break you as well. So they'll tell you to lay down with a man so that they can feel better about the fact that they've already laid down with a man that they regret, and they want to corrupt you as well. It's really sad, but it's so true. I've experienced this my entire life, and I'm just so tired, okay? Like, I'm tired of seeing my friends have abortions. I'm tired of seeing my friends be full-on wives to men that they're not married to, okay? Protect yourself, protect your body. God gave you your body for you and the man that deserves you. And that's it. And that's supposed to be one man. And like, when it's the right man and you have the discernment and the purity, like, the sex will be bomb, okay? Like, don't let anybody tell you that you need to test drive, or that a man needs to test drive you to ensure that we have good sex. People always love to be like, oh, but it feels good. Like, I have sex because it feels good. But that's just like a fleshly argument that makes no sense. Like, eating an entire chocolate cake also feels good in the moment, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't have severe repercussions. And eating a chocolate cake, while it feels good in the moment, it satisfies my flesh, it doesn't help me get closer to my goals of being snatched or having a beautiful, pure vessel so that I can, like, be the best version of myself. Okay. I love you guys. Please subscribe. We're trying to reach 1,000 subscribers. Follow me on Instagram, mayush.lst. And go listen to my music on Spotify and SoundCloud. Love you.